Okay, so 2 months ago, scientists detected something strange entering our solar system. A massive object out near Jupiter heading on a trajectory for the inner planets, and it's traveling faster than any interstellar visitor ever detected. Almost 60 kilometers per second. And so immediately people started to speculate. Was it a comet or an alien spacecraft?
This may actually be a piece of alien technology.
NASA detected a mysterious object speeding toward Earth.
And maybe it's changing direction now and heading to Earth.
Do you hear about that fucking object that's hurtling towards Earth?
Controversial Harvard physicist Avi Loeb published a paper within 2 weeks of its detection, theorizing about how this object, 3I Atlas, might be an alien technology, potentially even hostile. So over the last few weeks, we have been modeling the entire system, pulling information from every observatory on Earth, tracking the object to ultimately try and answer the question, what actually is 3I Atlas? 3I Atlas was discovered on July 1st by NASA's Atlas Survey Station in Chile. The 3I because it's the third ever interstellar object we've detected. That just means it came from outside of our solar system, a visitor from beyond. The first was Oumuamua back in 2017, which caused similar commotion, again thanks to Avi Loeb. The Atlas system is a network of these small telescopes located all around the globe that regularly scan the sky looking for moving objects like asteroids and comets. At its detection, it was located here, 4.5 astronomical units away from the Sun, out near the orbit of Jupiter, and it was heading inward fast. Immediately, teams from around the world started turning their telescopes towards the object, gathering as much information as possible to give us an estimate of how big it is and where it's going. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to study an interstellar object months before it ever gets close to us. As all of this information poured in, Avi Loeb and his co-authors published their paper that would go on to change everything. Published on July 17th, the paper opens by hypothesizing that the object was technological and possibly hostile. They mapped the trajectory of it, showing it approaches abnormally close to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, as if it were an alien spacecraft looking to gather information about the inner planets. They also pointed out that the object was weirdly well aligned with the ecliptic plane of our solar system, which would be ideal if the object wanted to break and enter an orbit around the Sun. Their calculations showed that the chances of the object being this well aligned with the solar system would be about 1 in 500. They even went as far as estimating that an optimal intercept of the Earth would entail an arrival in late November or early December of this year. In his interviews, Avi stressed that he wasn't claiming that this was aliens, more so just that it was a possibility that's worth exploring. The initial estimates of how big it was made it even more interesting. Based off of its reflected light, they calculated that it was 11 kilometers wide, about 100 times bigger than Oumuamua, and similar in size to the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. So people obviously heard about this. You know, Harvard astronomer claims that 3I Atlas is a hostile alien spacecraft, and they ran with it.
Harvard astronomers have gone on record saying that this is actually an alien spacecraft.
The physics of it does not make any sense.
What the hell is this thing, and when is it showing up?
I'll directly respond to a bunch of these claims later in the video, but if you think about it, it kind of would make sense, right? Like, if aliens are out there in the Milky Way, they would probably send some probes to other star systems to check if they're inhabited. This doesn't mean I think it's aliens. We need to look at the evidence first. So at this point, there were really two possibilities. Either it's an alien spacecraft or a comet. So how can we determine which one it is? The key is really looking for the tail and the coma. Comets normally have these characteristic features of dust and gas that is being pushed off the surface of the comet by solar radiation. The tails often point away from the sun. If it was an alien spacecraft, it should be doing all kinds of crazy things, like speeding up, slowing down, flashing lights. You get the point. And if it was aliens, I'm sure they'd want you to subscribe, because only about 20% of you are actually subscribed to the channel. On July 21st, 3 weeks after the initial detection, NASA turned the Hubble Space Telescope towards our interstellar visitor and snapped this picture, spotting what looked like a cometary coma and faint tail. We would need to wait for it to get closer to see if the tail grows in size. Weirdly though, it also spotted this additional anti-tail. The sun is over here, and it kind of looks like there's a tail of material being ejected in the direction of the sun. Now, Avi Loeb jumped on this piece of evidence, saying there was very little dust being shed. If it were a comet, then the solar radiation would be pushing particles out into the expected trail. And since we don't really see a clear tail, it might not be a comet. Even weirder, around this same time, different observatories like JWST were noticing that the comet appeared to be emitting a cloud of CO2 that extends for hundreds of thousands of kilometers out. In comets, we typically see a water vapor gas trail, and this was either absent or only present in really low quantities. Just after this detection, someone asked Avi what he thought the chances were that 3I Atlas really is aliens. He responded, 60%. Okay, just before I put it all together and show you our simulation of 3I Atlas, I need to thank the sponsor of this video, Odoo. As I'm sure you know by now, Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that gives creators and entrepreneurs tools to simplify their day-to-day management. They have a CRM application that gives you all the tools you could possibly need to manage your customer sales. It lets you easily track your leads, manage all the communications with your clients, get accurate forecasts, and most importantly, close sale opportunities for your business. You can see all of the opportunities in a simple card form through the Kanban view with all of the essential information available at a glance. You can move them through the different stages set by you as you progress with the opportunity. Within each opportunity, you have a chatter with which you can use to contact them easily, as well as set up activities like to-dos, meetings, calls, and everything gets centralized within the chatter, so everyone can see the entire chat history whenever they want. Now, once you have a client that is willing to pay, you can send them a beautiful quotation directly from the lead with all of the products and services you're charging for and close that deal. And of course, the best thing is your first app with Odoo is completely free for life with unlimited hosting and support, so you can try it out today with no strings attached. Now, if we want to know for sure what 3I Atlas actually is, then we need to get up close and personal and take better pictures. But the path the object is taking through our solar system means it never really comes that close to the Earth, around 1.8 AU at its closest approach, where 1 AU is just the distance from the Earth to the Sun. By this point, everything had really started to heat up. Avi was basically the face of 3I Atlas, constantly doing interviews discussing it. And I started to receive messages every day from people, even friends, asking me if 3I Atlas was actually an alien spacecraft. As we entered September, we started to get a more complete view of what was actually happening out there in space. I've pieced together data from 14 observatories around the world to give you the most complete view of what 3I Atlas actually is. Here we go. 3I Atlas entered our solar system like this, on an extremely hyperbolic orbit. It definitely came from outside the solar system. That is not up for debate. It's about 5 degrees from the ecliptic plane of the solar system, something like this. Certainly not common, but not definitive proof that it's an alien spacecraft. It's going to travel like this, through our solar system, passing just 29 million kilometers from Mars on October 3rd, but never getting too close to the Earth. Later, it even passes pretty close by Jupiter. Now let's take a closer look at the object itself. We can see a brightly glowing coma and a nice cometary tail, unmistakable evidence that it's an interstellar comet. And that tail is getting brighter as it gets closer to the sun. Hubble's first view spotted signs of a dust trail, but by late August, Gemini South had seen that tail grow to be longer and the coma was expanding. Again, classic comet behavior. The initial estimates of the size made it seem truly huge, but they were based purely on how bright the object is, and that brightness includes the coma's glow. If we take that away, we can see that the object is only around 5 kilometers across, and it could actually be even smaller. When we analyze the coma, we find that there's an unusually high amount of carbon dioxide. There's a little bit of water, but it's nearly all CO2, something we have never really seen in a comet from our solar system. This tells us that 3I Atlas probably formed in a really cold zone around its original star, far out where the CO2 can freeze onto the surface. As far as we can tell, this is what 3I Atlas actually is. It's a comet from another star system with some really interesting physics, but there's no signs of alien intelligence. So why are so many people convinced it's an alien spaceship? Well, let's go through and debunk these claims. It feels like every day now someone links me a YouTube video where someone is making a ridiculous claim about 3I Atlas. Apparently we found 9 hidden objects escorting 3I Atlas through our solar system. Oh, and what about how it's now supposedly on a collision course with Mars? And this one is my favorite. 3i Atlas is firing nuclear magnetic power at the sun and cracking Earth's shield. What does that even mean? Of course, none of this is true. Let's see what everyone's claiming.
It's getting brighter, which means that it's possibly slowing down.
When we look out at 3i Atlas, it is showing literally no signs of slowing down in a way that lets it come and visit us here on Earth. It's on a hyperbolic path through our solar system, and to be honest, it doesn't even really come near the Earth. As any object falls towards the sun, they actually speed up and then eventually slow down again as they leave the solar system. So consider this one debunked.
It's producing its own light source, and it's producing it from within. I don't remember the last time a comet, meteor, or asteroid did that.
I agree. I don't remember the last time a comet, asteroid, or meteor emitted its own light, because they don't, and neither does 3i Atlas. The Comet lights up as the dust and gas gets excited from the sun's radiation. Pretty basic stuff.
Do you hear about that fucking object that's hurtling towards Earth at like 130,000 miles an hour?
No, that might solve all our problems.
Okay, this one's at least partly true. It actually is traveling at 130,000 miles per hour, but again, doesn't come anywhere near the Earth.
But Harvard astronomers have gone on record saying that this is actually an alien spacecraft that is possibly on a reconnaissance spy mission to Earth, and it's set to arrive November 2025.
So here's the real problem with stories like this. I think she genuinely believes that a Harvard astronomer has come out and made those claims. I don't think she's being deceptive. But when the media takes things out of context, this is what you get. It is one Harvard astronomer, Avi Loeb, who co-authored a speculative paper about the object. He very specifically said it's probably not aliens and it's more of a thought experiment. So no, what she said is just not true.
The physics of it does not make any sense. There's a massive CO2 cloud around this thing, and as we know on Earth, CO2 is used as a propellant or propulsion system. So not only is it spewing out CO2, it's not producing any water vapor, which means it's not frozen as it should be in space.
So the Comet is nearly entirely CO2. That part is true. And while most of the comets that we've seen don't really look like this, doesn't that kind of make sense? I mean, it's not a comet from our solar system after all. Why would we expect it to look exactly the same? Also, there is water. A little bit, but it is there. Oh, and about that propulsion. When comets outgas like this, they actually do produce a tiny rocket-like acceleration, but it's very obviously natural and uncontrolled. There's no engine on it. If it was an engine, it would be one of the worst, most inefficient engines you could possibly design. So again, this one is debunked. So if all of these people have been misled into believing that a hostile alien spacecraft is about to invade the Earth, why is Avi doing this? He's made very similar claims before when it came to Oumuamua, so what's going on? Having spent weeks now reading his blog posts, watching interviews, and studying his papers, I think it just comes down to this. I think Avi wants to keep the alien hypothesis on the table until it's definitely ruled out. He believes that this open-minded style of inquiry is being shut down at many of these institutions, because if you suggest that it could be aliens, then you're either not taken seriously or even laughed at. And to some degree, I can see where he's coming from. Science needs to be objective and weigh up multiple hypotheses, even if one of them is extreme, like aliens. But I do think there has to be some duty of care in today's media climate. Consumption of content and headlines move so quickly now that when someone sees a 20-second video or a headline, they just take it at face value and don't bother to fact check it. The media companies and social media platforms aren't incentivized to put these safeguards in place either. After all, the headline Harvard physicist believes that interstellar object is a hostile alien spacecraft, gets clicks, and makes them money. So while I don't think Avi is intentionally misleading anyone or spreading misinformation, the end result is somewhat the same. Millions of people around the world are now convinced that an alien spacecraft is flying through our solar system. Genuinely. And if you're one of them, I want you to do just one thing for me. In October and November, as this thing flies past the inner planets and eventually goes to leave the solar system, remember what they were telling you. They said it would slow down, hide behind the sun, invade the Earth, crash into Mars, and when it doesn't, question why. So unfortunately, no. 3i Atlas is almost certainly not an alien spacecraft. But if you do want to learn about how NASA may have just found proof of aliens on Mars, then watch this video I just posted to the channel and subscribe.